Hey everyone, how are you doing? You have Mike here today, and today we are going to discuss our accessible aquarium because we have a plan on how we can actually set up our aquariums in order to make it as easy as possible for anyone that wants to try it. So the very first thing we're going to start out with is if you want to have a truly accessible aquarium, you need to have at least 2 or 3 points of access. Now, when I'm talking about this, I mean like having access to your filters on the side. If you can actually get into the left and to the right, like you're seeing here, you can actually, filter or put maintenance on your filter, on even remove your canister filter hoses, your heaters to do, maintenance, clean it off and whatnot. That's kind of important to have that access into your aquarium. Now, in my fish room, I really don't have this space available in order to get my chair in behind things. If I had to get to a hang-on-back filter or something like that, I really couldn't do that, unfortunately. So maybe somewhere down the road we're going to kind of move around this fish room and kind of make it a little bit easier for us. So before I get into lighting and filtration, I just wanted to show you a little demonstration I have actually doing a full tank water change in my chair. This is just going to be a quick little demonstration, just showing you a couple of things that I found were a little bit more struggling than I thought they actually would be. Something as simple as just, moving the python hose, connecting it and getting the water going was a little bit more of a challenge than what I'm used to. So coming into this, I did have my tools, which, as you guys know, you have to have a python if you're going to have an accessible aquarium. It's the only way to do it. Buckets are just not, that's just not going to work. It's way too much lifting and pulling, and it's just not going to happen. So if you're trying to do it with buckets, really look into investing in a python. The other tool here that we have, if you haven't seen one of our latest videos, the DIY magnet cleaner, check that out. This is where we built this product. And yeah, so we're doing a little demonstration of our tank from a wheelchair position. Now that I got the python in, you guys can see all that. I basically just want to show you the reaching issue that I'm having to get my python into the back of the aquarium. As you can see, I don't have quite a lot of room, and my fish are attacking it and so forth, and it's moving around and it's really not stable. So if I had something to basically replace my arm and go down there and grip that python and then allow me to control it from the outside of my aquarium, that would be a lot easier than what I'm trying to do. Another thing too is I'm actually right at the very end of my chair, reaching as far as I possibly could. For some people that might not be totally safe. You wouldn't want to fall out of your chair. That would be terrible, right? So that's kind of an issue that we still haven't worked out. Somebody did mention PVC and making like a handle with that, and I said, that's a really good idea. So that might be something that we build down the road, or maybe work with another YouTuber in order to try to build something like that. Definitely something that we're going to look at in the future. So I can't totally lie and say that I did this all by myself. I did have a little bit of help because I don't have one of those dollies yet that I was talking about, little trolley carts. So I did have to use Sierra in here, and she's pretty strong. She can handle these canister filters. But other than the little bit of help that I got from Sierra to move the filter, I was pretty much able to do it all myself, including removing the hang-on-back filters, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about filtration. So I've went over quite a few of the options here of what we could possibly do with filtration. Now, I'll show you a clip here with removing my hang-on-back filter. Once again, I was at the very edge of my seat, reaching up, and it was just, it was kind of strenuous to actually be able to lift it up. Now, I don't have lots of strength away from my body, so I can't really lift things up. So I found that the hang-on-back filter just wasn't really practical in order to use. The whole point of this video is to make your aquarium experience fun and less work so you can actually enjoy it, right? So I do find that hang-on-back filters just aren't going to work. Now, for those of you who have been watching our channel for a while, we love hang-on-backs. So we use hang-on-backs with a combination of our canister filters. So we basically had to come and look at new ways, and there actually are a few people that have videos out where they just run pure canister filters. A lot of people do that. And how they run them is one will be strictly for mechanical filtration to filter out all the fine stuff, and the other one's mostly just bacteria. It does still have its foams, obviously, to stop the media from getting clogged, but a different way of setting it up. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more of a price to that because you need 2 canister filters. But if you could do it that way, it would be a lot easier to get those things off than it would be to have hanging backs on there any day. Another solution that we could possibly look at is an internal filter. If you have 3 points of access to your tank, you should have no problem being able to reach in your tank and grabbing out your filter. One thing that we also haven't looked at for some of the tools would be an underwater grabber. Now, they do have some pretty high quality grabbers that can support up to like 60 pounds, which is great, but some of them, they didn't really look sealed. Now, if there is a grabber that you can use underwater that wouldn't rust or anything like that, if you guys know of, feel free to post that in the comments below, because I think that would be a real handy tool to have as well. But going back to filtration, hang-on backs really just aren't the way to go, because it's going to be a lot more work, a lot more strenuous. You don't want to do anything like that. Sumps would be another system too that's possibly easier because it's down lower. But I'm not familiar with sumps. I don't really use sumps. I've never had a sump, so I don't want to go recommend something that I'm not familiar with and I can't explain or help you out in the process. There are lots of other YouTubers out there who have lots of experience dealing with sumps. I'm just not one of them. But that might be another possibility for you to look into, just because, you know, it could be under your tank in your wheelchair, or it might be easier to access. So that's something to look at too. But for now, my recommendations are going to be canister filters and internal filters. I think they would work the easiest to be able to get to them, clean them, and put them back in your tank. Alright, so now we're on to lighting. So in this part of the video, we're not going to be talking about, you know, PAR or any of that fun stuff. We're not even going to be talking about specific lights. We're going to be talking about ways to make your lights more accessible. So I have here an old analog timer, and I have here a digital timer. Now, these can both come in very handy. I know for me, by the end of the night, when it comes time to turn off the lights, I have a hard time getting up and moving, so it's either get Sierra or come up with another solution. So I have a couple of these timers running on my tanks. I also have a couple digital timers, because when I first got the analog timers, I was like, well, you know, this will work great. But then the power goes off for a couple minutes and then your light cycle's gone. So you have to, you know, keep running down and getting to it. And you guys seen the power system that I had before my fish room. It wasn't really easy to get to, so my lights kind of went on a random schedule. So we moved over to the digital ones, which are a little bit better, because if power goes out, you don't have to worry about, you know, going to readjust your lights, because it's got a little battery inside, and it stays charged. So when the power goes out, it's all fine. When it comes back on, nothing, there's no problems basically. So I do actually like the digital timers a little bit better. They're just a little bit complicated to set up. I don't know, I'm not good at setting these things up, so it took me a little while to actually figure it out. So the next thing that we're talking about is, I actually made a DIY light. I never made a video on it. I just basically shoved some of the roll of LEDs into an old casing that I had for a light. Now, the reason why I went with that light was because I didn't want to have to struggle turning it on and off. So it actually came with a little remote. And it's kind of cool because it comes with different colors and stuff, but the fish really don't want to see the colors. They're only really worried about having a little bit of light so they can see themselves eating their food. So it comes with the remote, which gives me, you know, I can do this from about 10 feet away, turn on and off my light, and it doesn't cause any problem. Now, it's definitely a lot easier, but it's definitely not as good as the next thing that I found. Now, I was over at Walmart, the wonderful, great superstore, and I was actually able to pick up a Stanley wireless remote. Now, it basically comes with 3 plug-ins that you can plug your light fixtures right into, and then with a click, the lights turn off. A quick Another quick button push and the lights come on. You might have actually seen this device in use in our Eheim versus the Hydor flow test. That's how I started the canister filters at the exact same time, was with this little switch. So this thing here comes in handy because I have this literally strapped to my living room table, so it doesn't matter, I can always find a quick reach down and I have my lights controlled. Now I like this system a little bit better than all of it. I guess the timers for different reasons. Now if you're going out of town, I kind of do like my timers a little bit more. But if you're staying at home quite often and you're up at the times that you want your lights to turn on and off, it's very simple to just push a button and there you go. Alright, so we also have other options as well for our lighting. If you see above me, I'm using LED lights. Now these LED lights are a little bit different because they have a built-in timer. You can actually program them with your cell phone. Now this is not the only light like this out there. There are many different lights out there on the market that have built-in timers. So you definitely got to look at what's already out and what's already available. Some of these lights might cost a little bit more. I know this one here it's fairly expensive because it could be used for freshwater as well as reef. So it's got a wide range of spectrum of light that comes out of it. So you definitely don't need to go that high with it. But you could go and look at one of these other options. You might be able to pick up a light for your tank for under $100 or maybe a little bit over. And that would be fairly reasonable depending on the size of the tank you're trying to light. So definitely keep that in mind as well. They do have lights with built-in timers and just like features with this one here, rolling cloud cover, all kinds of fun stuff. So I do hope that I was able to give a couple of tips here in order to help you set up your aquarium the best it possibly could. And like I said, if you guys have any more ideas of how we can improve on our plan, definitely I'd love to hear it. This is something that I've already mentioned before. This is kind of passionate to me. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to use these tips and these techniques myself in setting up my fish room. Because like we've learned in this video, my fish room is not exactly perfect and we still need to fix it up a little bit. So I would like to thank everyone for watching once again, and you guys have yourself a great day.